So hasn't that been? I can't say what I was going to say now.
Is it because we're live? Possibly.
Yeah. I was going to
going
say
live literally now.
I was like, can I sneak the joke in the time it takes to go, between going live and?
Yeah, probably not.
No,
probably best not to risk that.
Yeah.
Right, now Ruby has sent me a step-by-step guide on how to edit the description while this live stream's going out, because I couldn't know how to do that before. So
thank God for YouTube.
We're doing what I'm going to give it a mention today. We're almost up to 100 subscribers on YouTube, which is brilliant, because I think at the start of the season we had about 20. So big progress.
That's a 5-fold increase. Not many channels can claim to that.
Yeah, it's a low starting point, admittedly, but still,
everybody starts somewhere.
It's upwards, right?
It is.
Unless you're Australian, in which case it's the other direction.
So
you guys look at the stock market and you're like, yes, it's going down.
Yeah, so
sell now. Sell.
In Australia, do you sleep upside down like a bat?
Steve's from New Zealand. So
I was going to say Steve would know.
Well, there we go. Yeah.
I don't want to speak for my Australian counterparts, but yes.
Yes.
If you're a
everything
Brogan,
there tries to kill you.
Did I get the word right? Is it a Brogan?
Bogan.
Oh, isn't that like chav in Australia? New Zealand
basically
speak?
like a bogan is basically just like an Australian pikey. It's probably the best way I can describe it.
Redneck, from what I've heard.
Yeah. It's They exist in New Zealand as well. They are almost always driving Holden Utes, and almost always insist on doing burnouts in McDonald's drive-thrus.
Classic.
Just seems to be a thing.
It's like our version of a Corsa driver.
Do you know what? I was just going to say that,
Yeah.
Just going to... Usually down an Asda car park on a weekend.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, no.
Yeah. What was that episode of Top Gear where they're in cars for teenagers, whatever it is, and one of them's got a Vauxhall Nova.
Oh,
the Nova.
Yeah, where he keeps rolling it. Yeah.
Nova drivers.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, step by step. I just not. I don't know how to do it. I'll try it another time. I can just edit in after like usual.
You just have to be Ruby. You just have to have that ability.
Yeah, I just don't when it comes to YouTube. I know nothing when it comes to that at all. But thank you everybody who joins us live on the YouTube. I do appreciate it. But yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like
that basically describes me most of the time, so I feel you.
I'm just gonna give it a quick share, then we'll start recording. Tom, just so I know, do you have like a favorite driver or team that I should aim to give you during this preview?
My favorite team is McLaren, and my favorite driver is Max Verstappen.
I'll definitely give you Max then.
Very closely followed by Lando.
Yes,
love Lando.
Yes,
I don't think there's anyone who doesn't like Lando.
I know. Yeah.
Maybe
people
Daniel
are
Ricciardo
wrong
at the moment.
Well.
Yeah.
Drive faster. I'm sure it's as simple as that.
Just if it comes up, what happened to Ocon at Baku? Was it a power unit failure or?
Last I heard, it was a combination of power unit and gearbox failure.
Double whammy. So would he be up for a potential penalty for this weekend if they're doing a power unit swap?
If he's got to have a swap, possibly. His gearbox, he might be okay because he might be six. We might already be 6 races in, so he might be allowed to swap at this point.
Yeah,
but power unit, I don't know. You know, because he may well end up having to take a penalty later in the season if he has to swap components this early.
Yeah, Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what it was, but that was what I initially heard.
Okay. Just put a question mark over that then.
Yeah, I've got it down here that he's officially had a turbocharger failure, but whether that was the only thing, I don't know. That's just what.
So if they change just a component on the power unit, it's not a penalty. But if it, there are some components that do take a penalty for change, don't they?
That's beyond me.
If with the engine components, you have a set number to use throughout the year. So for turbochargers, I think it's 3. So given one has failed, he's already going to have to switch to a second turbo fairly early on in the season. So odds are later on in the season, when this one runs out and the next one runs out, he's going to have to take an extra one, which will incur probably a 3 or 5 place grid penalty.
Cool. All right.
I know they normally try and time those though. It's like you take that like Monza if you
can.
or Spa as well. You see people taking like making early component swaps so they can take penalties.
All tactical. Owain, should I list you as an engineering graduate now? Now that have you got your results back?
Hey.
Oh, I know I've got. Well, at least according to this Excel calculator I've made, apparently I've got a first.
Well, yeah. I'll trust you.
Either way, I don't know. I don't know if I've graduated yet. I don't know.
You'll find out soon.
Congratulations, then.
I'm putting it down.
If you do graduate, though, I think we need to make it a rule now that you have to wear your graduation outfit. That sort of thing.
I'm not buying it.
Too much to bloody buy. Everybody rents them. Like, it's too much.
You don't even need to rent them. Like, they just give you them at Huddersfield, don't they?
Well, when I graduated from uni,
not just give you like.
Yeah, so when I graduated from uni, I had to pay £75 for the robes and the hats just for a day.
I did that. I had to pay. Yeah. Just to rent it for a day.
I just got really drunk, and that cost less.
Fair play, man.
I remember being really bored.
It's just watching other people. It's watching loads of people get a certificate, isn't it?
Yeah.
About 30 seconds of you being up there, and then an hour solid of just hearing people you've never heard of get all these rewards, and it's like, yeah, well done, you. Well done, you.
You, yes. Well done. You made it.
The only graduation I'd ever want to go to was the one that Bill Bailey randomly turned up to. I think it was University of Bath, or wherever he studies, and he apparently was a guest speaker at a graduation, and nobody knew until he just turned up.
That sounds like Bill Bailey.
Yeah, that would have been all right.
Andrew Stewart might turn up to ours. He's technically the Chancellor, I think.
Is he again?
Yeah.
Well, left for a while. I know it's obviously not him now, but
it's not Prince Andrew anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, funny that.
Right, moving swiftly on. Let's get this show on the road. Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Thank God, no. He's been down there already.
Job I didn't start recording.
Steady.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And we seem to have lost Tom.
Yeah. Got a connection issue.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
After a thriller in Baku, Formula One heads to the French Grand Prix to see if Red Bull can break Mercedes' stranglehold in Paul Ricard. Welcome back to the Formula One Grid Talk podcast, everybody. This is episode number 111, where I'll be previewing the 2021 French Grand Prix. I'm your host, George Howson, and I'm joined today by engineering graduate Owain Medford.
Hello.
Congrats on that, by the way. From EF1, it's Tom Downey.
Hello.
And we have Paul Ricard's biggest fan, it's Steve Jackson.
Oh, you actually did it. Hello.
Of course I did. You gave the request and I had to put it on there, so any excuse. Before we get into the show today, lads, I'm going to give a shout out to Nick Noss. He gave a review for us last week, but me and Steph between us didn't give him a shout out, unfortunately. Very professional of us both, but we got there in the end. Nick Noss said that this is one of his go-to podcasts. He's been listening to his podcast for a while now, and he enjoys the analysis and the diversity of opinions, which is what we're all about at the end of the day. We have such a variety of guests on who all have different takes on the sport we love. So thank you very much, Nick Noss. You're a boss. You've left us a 5-star review on iTunes, And if you want to get a shout at the start of the show, then just leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and we'll be sure to give you guys a shout at the start of the show. So yes, Owain, we have Paul Ricard this weekend. And it's fair to say that in 2018 and 2019, Mercedes were untouchable around this circuit. They were the ones to beat. Lewis Hamilton bossing both of those races, but they do not come into this weekend as the favourites.
No, they don't. Obviously, after the last 2 weeks, they weren't weren't as dominant as they usually are. But I think if you're looking for a track to go back to, at least, the Mercedes should in theory suit Paul Ricard, just the way it is. Obviously, it doesn't have the issues of being a street circuit with a long car. It actually suits the Mercedes to have the types of corners that you do have at Paul Ricard. And they've got a lot of data on it, and I think it's sort of a return to form. At least they should be able to get back in business and maybe quell some of the issues they've had with setup over the last 2 races.
Yeah, they've had a fair few issues in Mercedes, but like you said, they have been 2 street circuits in Monaco and Azerbaijan. The more conventional track in Paul Ricard, it could provide them with some respite. But how do you see the battle between Mercedes and Red Bull going, Steve? Obviously, Max Verstappen's on a massive high. He won in Monaco, and he would have won in Baku had things gone differently, had he not got the puncture. And he leads the championship going into this one. Who do you see being the favourites for this round?
Bit hard to say. This has been a traditionally happy hunting ground for Mercedes, especially in 2019. I think they won by 30 seconds with Lewis in first and Bottas not far behind. To be fair, I think I'd expect a return to the usual, the standard operating procedure that we've seen in previous years. I would expect Mercedes to do well here, but they're definitely on the back foot now. Baku was a massive blow to them, and they could have capitalised on Verstappen's bad luck with that tyre failure. Instead, I think we all know what happened. Wondering if Mark Webber's stopped screaming yet. But it's it's definitely a weekend that they're going to be quite sore from. So I think I said this about Monaco, that they tend to get quite hard on themselves after a poor weekend. I mean, we saw that with Monaco. They didn't have a great weekend, and we saw the I suppose the comments from certain members of the team and just a bit of the fallout there. So I was half expecting them to do really well in Baku, but I also said that it could all go horribly wrong, and it in a way it did. So it's crunch time for them. They're now behind on both constructors and drivers championships, so there's even more emphasis for them to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. They're behind in both championships. Perez's win really catapulting Red Bull a good distance away from Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship. But in the Drivers' Championship, Tom, like I said, it is still Max Verstappen leading despite his retirement, because Lewis Hamilton finished way down in the points, outside of the points, in Baku. How do you see your man getting on, though? Because he seemed very frustrated, after retiring in Baku. Do you think he'll use that energy to really pull out a good result here in France?
I think this year, and certainly since 2018, ever since Max had that accident in free practice, I think it was in Monaco, he's really matured as a driver. He's not as volatile as he once was. So I think this year Max will probably use that sort of Baku experience, because let's be fair, that could have been an absolute horror crash if he'd have bounced into the wall in the pit lane. But thankfully, in a weird way, he went into the barrier on the right hand side, and also with Hamilton obviously going off, there's not perhaps quite as much pressure on Max to get the win. I do think he'll be on the back foot compared to Mercedes this week, because as the other two have said, this is definitely a happy hunting ground for Mercedes. In the past, it has definitely suited their car. Whether it'll be slightly different this year with the low rate changes and for the Mercs going round, I don't know. I could definitely see Max probably second row, maybe P2. I do think we'll see Hamilton on pole this weekend, though.
Well, it's that tight in the Drivers' Championship. I mean, it's just 4 points between them. So every win in second place, it swaps all the time. It's been a very entertaining season for that, for sure. And someone else we can't discount really in this one, Owain, is Sergio Perez. I mean, he won last time in Baku. He's in a distant third, but if he continues this good form, he could really upset the odds here.
Yeah, he's a little bit out of touch in the constructors right now. He's sort of 30 or so points away from Verstappen and Hamilton. But obviously, yeah, he's won a race. He's clearly getting more comfortable in the Red Bull. And granted that they sort of put together a good car, and I think they will be able to. Obviously, it's not such a good track for them, just based on the way their car is, I think. But it does have some advantages that the Mercedes won't have. And Perez obviously has that added sort of element of being able to make his tyres last, which could be quite important. It could be, just depending on the temperature, we could get really high degradation. And that could cause issues for people who can't make their tyres last. Whereas someone like Perez obviously has that ability, and that could bring him into the sort of into the running. And all it takes is sort of a coming together at the front, and it could be yet another win for Perez.
It could be, yeah. It could be another win for Perez. You never know. I'm just looking at the weather forecast. Normally, it's very hot, very sunny at this time of year in that part of France. I've looked at it for Marseille, and it's actually meant to rain all weekend, Friday to Sunday. But we've said this a lot, and it hasn't rained, especially in France. I remember they've predicted rain, I think, both times in 2018 and 19, and we never got a drop. So take that with a grain of salt. But I mean, Owain gave a mention to the tyres, Steve, and we have to give it at least a mention. I mean, is that going to be weighing on the drivers' minds? I mean, it's not a street track like Baku, but it's a high-speed track. There's two long back straights, 200-mile-an-hour straights. Are Pirelli going to be a bit concerned going into this one?
100%, I think, concern for Pirelli and the drivers and the teams as well. I don't buy the debris argument. The failures looked quite, I mean, they were identical. It was just the only difference was which way the car sort of pitched. And Tom mentioned before, thank God that Max's car decided to lurch right instead of left. Otherwise, I think we might have been having a very different conversation. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what compounds Pirelli bring to Paul Ricard, whether they have had any sort of change of heart. The logistics behind that are pretty incredible to actually, get that done in such a short time. But I wouldn't be surprised if a number of the teams, including Aston Martin and Red Bull, have gone to Pirelli and said, we've got genuine concerns. The one that worries me is the second half of the Mistral Straight. It's obviously divided up into two with that weird little chicane in the middle, and then it goes straight into Scene, which is a very, very fast right-hander, so it's going to load the left rear tyre quite a bit. So I'd be really keen to see how they do over a stint. Yeah, I think it'll definitely play on a number of drivers' minds. I think there'll be two drivers in particular, Stroll and Verstappen, who will be quite sort of not scared. It's definitely not the right word to use, but there might be some caution, and whether that caution has any effect on their pace, hard to say. I hope it doesn't.
I don't think it will. I think they'll just go out there and go 100%. That's what they do, the racing drivers, but they got to look out for themselves as well. And it's it's not exactly unknown for Pirelli to have these tyre issues, but it's not what you want to see. And it's happened twice in the same race like that, seemingly out of nowhere. It's not what you want to see. It could have been a lot worse, like Tom said. If Verstappen went into the pit wall, if Stroll went into the pit wall, we could be having a very different conversation about it. But yeah, so we'll move on to McLaren next, Tom. And been a very good season for them so far. They've slipped behind Ferrari, which will concern them a little, of course. But Lando Norris in particular, he's in incredible form, and the only guy now to get points in every single race. How do you see McLaren getting on this weekend?
I think this could be quite a good weekend for McLaren. If like you mentioned, McLaren and Ferrari are sort of going toe to toe for third in the constructors this year, and if you look at Ferrari and Monaco, Monaco is requires a very sort of specific setup. But I think McLaren will have the better package because it's not quite as high downforce all the way around. and obviously they've got the Mercedes power unit in the back, which will give them a hell of a shove down the back straight. Lando, again, he's been in such good form this year, and there's something about him this year. It's like he's really kicked up another gear. Whether that's because he knows he's got Daniel Ricciardo next to him, who's obviously an established race winner, had some very good seasons with Red Bull, and then after perhaps a slightly slow start, Renault had a very good year last year with Renault. I would like to see sort of McLaren top 6, maybe even sort of pushing P5, P4 in the quality results, and then if they can at least hold one car ahead of Ferrari, perhaps nipping on the heels. If someone at the front has a failure, maybe sort of picking up scraps for a P3, that'd be great. But we will see.
We'll see indeed, yeah. I mean, it's quite close in the standings. The cars, in terms of the pace, is quite close as well. But Owain, it's not been close in qualifying between those two. Ferrari having the last 2 poles, Charles Leclerc getting the last 2 poles. I mean, I don't think we expect him to do that again this weekend, but we didn't expect him to do it in Monaco, and we definitely didn't expect him to do it in Baku. So how do you think Ferrari are going to get on? Owain? Have we lost Owain?
We might have done.
Oh,
Yes.
hang on.
Yeah,
did you hear what I said there?
Yeah, I got the gist of it. Sorry about the connection. It's a little bit flaky.
It's okay.
No,
I'm just asking how Ferrari are going to get on this weekend, do you think?
Yeah, to be honest, like you said, I don't think it would be unexpected, I think, for Ferrari to actually have a good, such a good performance, particularly in quali and the race. So the car doesn't seem to have race pace, and I don't think the advantages or sort of the traits of the car currently are enough to sort of make up for that in quali, particularly around Paul Ricard. It's a completely different circuit. As we've said, it's almost the most different you could get to the ones we've previously had. Yeah, there's some long straights and some similar sections, but it's completely flat. And it seems to be that the Ferrari at least has some low end grunt that gets out the corners, and that's what gave it some of the potency that it had over the last 2 races. I mean, I think Sainz and Leclerc are actually doing an excellent job with what they've got. As they always do, they're class drivers like that. But I don't think it's going to work out so well for them in the end. I think it's sort of they're going to become victim to the cars behind.
Yeah, I agree. I think, their main aim is going to be to beat McLaren. They could do better than that in qualifying, but the race is really where it's going to show. And yeah, long back straights, it's not going to suit that Ferrari power unit. It's not the best on the grid. But you never know. As long as they get a decent result for decent points, they should be able to try and make it up in places like Hungary, places like, I don't know, maybe Japan if that goes ahead. But that's a big if at the moment. But yeah, we'll move on to AlphaTauri, Stephen. Now they're up in 5th in the constructors, a better position, a position that they've been aiming for. They finally got there. They got a podium last time with Pierre Gasly, a double points finish for the team as well. Again, I think they could be in for a good weekend in Paul Ricard.
Yeah, they've come away from a really strong weekend at Baku as well. I mean, we all know what Pierre Gasly's capable of, but to have Yuki Tsunoda end up in the points as well, convincingly, is definitely that'll be a boon for them. So the only sort of question mark over them I have is just their their long run pace at a circuit like Paul Ricard. The Honda's definitely got that low to mid end grunt. It's got loads of torque down the bottom to just drive it out of those low speed right angle corners that we've seen at Monaco and Baku, and we've seen just how well those Honda power units have performed there with Red Bull as well. Paul Ricard's not that circuit. It's a glorified car park, if I'm honest, but it's very, very quick. I think it'll definitely favour the more traditional players like Mercedes. So I think they'll have their work cut out for them, but provided they can sort of keep their noses clean through those early practice sessions and just get some get some good initial data down for the car and start working on their actual race strategy. I think that's what they need to do. I mean, qualifying's all well and good, but I think those cars come alive in those longer runs. So I would expect them to. I'd expect at least Pierre to get into that top 10. I'm not too sure how Yuki will go. I'm hoping his that good result he had in Baku is a good motivator for him, and just drives him to do better. He's definitely capable of putting that car into a top 10 position on a regular basis. We just need to see consistency and a bit of a cool head.
Yeah, definitely. I think Pierre Gasly is a bit of a shoo-in to get top 10. He's almost scored in every round, I think. I mean, obviously he hasn't because Lando Norris is the only guy to have done. But I think, Gasly scored every round except for the opening one, Bahrain. Obviously, he got tangled with Ricardo, didn't he? Had that puncture. So, not even that's not really his fault. So, he's had an excellent season so far. But, Tsunoda and the likes of those kind of drivers, they'll be facing a lot of competition from teams like Aston Martin, Tom, and they're another team who got a podium out in Baku. Vettel in unbelievable form. So if he keeps this momentum going, he could be in with a chance of getting a very strong haul of points again.
Yeah, definitely. It's I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but certainly for me, it's been lovely to see Vettel sort of smiling and happy again because he had such a torrid time at Ferrari last year. And then hearing his team radio, when he realised that he got, when he got a podium position last time round, he was genuinely happy. Obviously, he didn't have the best of starts to this year. Bahrain wasn't a particularly good outing for him, and then Imola wasn't much better. But he sort of slowly improved. I think when you look back on it, then Monaco, he had a very, very strong weekend all weekend, and then obviously Baku was. Was the proverbial cherry on top for him, to seal up a podium after only 5 or 6 races into the season, especially when Aston Martin thought perhaps they didn't have as good a car this year as they did under their previous entity last year. But I could see Vettel if he carries on this kind of consistency and this these kind of performances he's putting in, he's definitely on course for a decent finish in the Drivers' Championship this year.
Yeah, definitely. If he keeps it going, why the hell not? I mean, he didn't score in the first 4 rounds, but in the last 2 rounds, he's been brilliant and he's catapulted himself into the top 10. He's 9th place in the Drivers' Championship at the moment. And it's very tight between AlphaTauri and Aston Martin, just 2 points between them. But Alpine, Owain, have been cut adrift somewhat. They're 12 points back from Aston Martin, despite Alonso's good result last weekend. They're still a bit down there. So they come into their home race on better form, but they're quite far behind at the same time. So how do you rate their chances going into Paul Ricard?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, they've not been as quick as they have been, and I don't think that the car that they've got this year has some of the strengths of maybe last year, where they seem to be sort of lightning quick in a straight. Down the straights in a number of places. They don't seem to have that so much, and it seems that Alonso is still sort of finding his feet, as even sort of with the good results that they achieved last week. I think they really need to do a lot, because it will look bad if they. I mean, Alonso's 11th and 12th. Alonso and Ocon are 11th and 12th in the Drivers' Championship, with roughly almost the same amount of points. They are on mid-table right now, but they need to. We've seen the Renault team, or Alpine Renault as it is now, struggle when it's not going so well for them. Obviously, but I just mean, like, it just seems that there's sort of a fickleness in the camp, and I think they need to start. Ocon's no slouch, and Alonso is obviously Alonso. There's a certain amount of they need to get it going and get it together, because it's looking bad. They're sort of losing touch of those teams ahead, who even Aston Martin thought they weren't so great, and then they're losing touch of them. They'd expect to be at least fighting with them. And it's not really happened, so they just need to have a good weekend, really.
Yeah, they need a good result, don't they, to kind of get themselves back up there, get them up there with the people ahead of them. But if you look at the Drivers' Championship, it's bad reading for them because, yeah, you're right. Alonso and Ocon, 11th and 12th, 13 and 12 points respectively. But then in 10th place, it's Daniel Ricciardo with 26. He's got double. Daniel Ricciardo, despite the bad season he's been having from McLaren, he has more points than Alpine this season so far by himself. That doesn't make good reading. That's really bad reading for a team that, yes, they're Alpine now, but they are what Renault were. They are the same outfit, just with a different badge. They were really looking to progress, but they've stagnated and now they're regressing. They're going to hope that 2022 does bring them some more luck and a better car, because at the moment, it's not looking too great. But for Alfa Romeo, Steve, it's looking a little bit better. They've scored points in both of the last 2 rounds, Giovinazzi in Monaco, Raikkonen in Baku. They have those 2 points. They're ahead of Haas and Williams, officially now. So it's better for them. Can you see them scoring points this weekend in Paul Ricard again?
They've scored points last 2 races. So yeah, potentially. I think the Alfa Romeo suffers a wee bit from not too sure under development would be the right word, but it's the typical recent Sauber habit of slightly undercooking certain areas of developments and then overcooking it on the others. But I mean, their recent performance has been really good, but that's been around street circuits. So now that we're returning to something a wee bit more traditional, for want of a better word for Paul Ricard, I'm not 100% sure. They're occupying a bit of a weird space. I think they've definitely broken out of that Group C field, but they're not quite tagging on to the midfield yet. So it's a bit of a weird thing for them, and that could be potentially, I suppose, misleading to them in terms of their pace. They're obviously ahead of their main competitors, and they're seeing steps towards the front, but that's quite a big rift between Group C and the midfield. I mean, you look at the pace of the Haas and the Williams. If they're your main competitors, if you're doing, if you're beating them, that's one thing. But taking that extra step or two to the midfield is another thing entirely, and that's just going to be tricky for them. I think for the entirety of the season. I think the weekend coming, critically, they just need to capitalize on their recent success. I mean, they've had a points finish for, I think, Raikkonen in Monaco and Giovinazzi in Baku. They were 10th and 11th each time, just reversed, sort of vice versa each time. So, yeah, I'm hoping it goes well. They're a team I've been, quite fond of even before they were Alfa Romeo. But yeah, it really just boils down to the fact that this is a far more traditional circuit in terms of, the calendar overall, and they could slip back a wee bit. I don't imagine Haas will trouble them, but Williams could potentially be a bit of a pain.
Yeah, I can't see Haas really troubling them either, to be honest with you. Williams, yeah, you never know. I think Alfa Romeo have made progress though from last season. They do seem closer to Alpine and Aston Martin than what they were last season. But yeah, scoring points is still difficult for them. There's a lot of uncertainty around that team. Will the Alfa Romeo name stay? Will they go back to being Sauber? Will they become a Renault junior team like Tom Horrocks seems to think will happen? I could buy that, to be honest with you. That could happen. Will Raikkonen retire? Will they have another year? Will Giovinazzi stay? I mean, there's so many question marks around that team that I don't think it's really helping them. But if they just focus on the racing and focus on getting a good result, if they run Raikkonen long or something like that, and there's a late safety car, they could get in the points that way. But I think getting there on pure pace when they're the 8th fastest car, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. But yeah, so next, instead of going to Williams, like I said in the last show, we go to Haas, because Haas have actually leapfrogged Williams in the Constructors' Championship thanks to Schumacher's 13th place. Very unlucky for Williams that, but Haas, they stuck their cars out there, and fair play to them, Tom. They didn't get any points, but they did get a better finish than what Williams have this season. But it's a big ask for them to stay there. It's a big ask for them to consolidate that 9th place.
Yeah, definitely, George. And with Haas as well, I think there's perhaps not the best driver dynamic between the two, because I'm sure we all saw how irate Schumacher was when Mazepin moved across the straight when he was blowing past him on that. It was either the last but one lap at Baku last time round. Also, let's not forget that Haas have said before this season even started they're not doing any development work on the car for this year, because they're putting all their resources into the car for 2022, which obviously has big technical and regulation changes. So I can see Haas falling back down to 10th. Whether that's because Williams will actually get a point through George Russell, I don't know, or whether that's just because they, if we have fewer retirements in races and the Haas are sort of trundling at the back like they have been doing for pretty much every race, that remains to be seen. But I think they'll finish bottom of the constructors, and I don't think they'll get any points.
I agree. The only thing that worries me about Williams being bottom is that they have done work to the car, and if they get last still after all this, it's going to be a very, very bitter pill to swallow. But I'm very glad you mentioned the Voldemort, as we call him on this show, and Schumacher incident. It was on the last lap, I believe, to the line for the checkered flag, and I just think to do that when your cars are in the best position they've been all season, and probably won't be in as good a position as that for the rest of the season, to do that for the neutral competitor to do that is just disgraceful. If he doesn't get some sort of penalty for that, I am going to be which he's obviously not going to get any penalty for it. I just can't believe it, because that is such reckless driving. You're doing 200 miles an hour when there's been 2 tyre failures that could have been very, very nasty incidents. Thank God they weren't, but they could have been. And you're doing that on the last lap against your teammate? No, that's disgraceful.
And just on that point of dangerous driving and penalty points, I can't quite wrap my head around how Latifi got penalty points for staying out when, yes, he should have gone through the pit lane, but there's a communication issue. His race engineer said stay out, which if he meant stay out of the pit box, but if you were going around and you heard stay out, to you that says don't go into the pit lane. But yeah, that was that. But I don't know if you gents have seen the onboard of Mazepin where he jaunts the wheel to the right as Schumacher's going past. It's not a slight movement. There is, he is definitely sort of given it some, and how nothing has come of that yet is beyond me. If that's not dangerous driving, I don't know what is.
It's disgusting, but it's not surprising. Coming from Mazepin, he's displayed numerous times in the past what sort of driver and what sort of person he is. But the Latifi thing just boggles the mind. That should be a fine to the team or something. It shouldn't be points off a driver for obeying team instructions. The team's at fault, not the driver. The Lando Norris penalty points really don't. I'm struggling to sort of compute how that's logical as well. I mean, making a split-second decision to stay out or go into the pits and risk a potentially nasty accident. So, yeah, I mean, race control themselves, I think, have got a number of questions they need to answer, and Michael Massey doesn't seem to be too keen on answering any of them at the moment. So, yeah, I think the weird penalties and that sort of thing will continue, and nothing will be done until we see something really horrific happen. Or I don't know. I hate to think about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he's not wanting to answer it because he doesn't have an answer, or at least one that makes sense. Because how can you punish Latifi? He did nothing wrong. He did what the team told him to do. How is he supposed to know there's like a recovery vehicle on the track? He can't know that from all the way back there. You got to follow your team.
It's the race engineer's responsibility to relay that information to a driver. The driver's got enough going on in the cockpit to worry about, without worrying about, things that he can't see. That's just, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then Norris as well. I feel very bad for Norris as well, because he did the right thing. That entry to Baku's pit lane it's rapid and it's very narrow as well. At least it seems like that. And you got the weird chicane thing to slow the cars down, which makes sense, but you can't make a real last minute dive into the pits because of that. So again, he did the right thing. And yeah, if you're going to punish all of them for that, then fair enough. But why would you not punish Mazepin? Why would you not? It just boggles the mind. If it was Bahrain last year in F2, where he got a lot of penalty points for pushing, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Lundgaard or someone like that off the track numerous times. If there was a runoff on the outside of that, because it's just a concrete wall, if there was runoff on the outside of that, he would have pushed him off the track. He would have 100% tried to push him off the track there, but he knew there was a concrete wall, so he wouldn't have been able to do that. He just tried to spook Schumacher and it didn't really work, thankfully.
Yeah.
No, and given Schumacher seems to be so composed all the time, whenever he's interviewed in the media or even on track, you don't hear him having these sort of outbursts or these sort of like fits of rage, if you like, almost like a sort of Sonoda type outburst. You don't really hear that from Schumacher. He seems to have a really, really good dynamic with his race engineer.
Yeah.
But to then hear how and rightfully angry he was when Mazepin swerved at him going down the straight. I've not heard Mick Schumacher like that before, and to make someone that irate, because a split second decision like that could have had potentially lethal consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank God it didn't, but it could very easily have done. And the fact that it hasn't, and he's not been punished for it, it makes you think he's going to try it again.
Yeah,
he's going to try it again at some point.
Just going back to what you said before as well, Tom, about the driver relationship. I mean, when a team has to make social media posts saying, "Oh, the drivers have cleared the air and there's no, discontent or anything like that," there's definitely discontent. They haven't cleared the
air. Yeah. It's the very sort of corporate, like, we are fine, we are having fun, and we like each other. It's
mandatory fun.
Yeah, it's like, this is enforced fun and you're going to enjoy yourself.
I mean, it smacks of what happened after the Multi-21 incident.
Yes. Yeah. That's a really good point, Owen. Yeah. I'll tell you the other thing with Haas as well, and the other thing with I don't like to say this all the time because it sounds like we're making excuses, but Daddy Mazepin is such a big backer in the team that I think Haas have almost got one proverbial hand tied behind their back when it comes to disciplining drivers.
Yeah.
I mean, just going very briefly back, and I'm not going to go into it, the social media thing that Mazepin put out at the tail end of last year. I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. It all seemed to get sort of swept under the rug very quickly, and then we never heard anything else about it. Whether and I'm sure I believe the press release from Haas said that it was dealt with internally or something. I mean,
the classic line.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
I'm sure. Yeah, and I just think that's going to be a sort of recurring theme this year. And yeah, it's just I feel for Haas. I feel for Gunther Steiner because there's only so much he can do, and I feel for Gene Haas as well.
Yeah.
And I feel for Schumacher's side of the garage.
I mean, Mazepin can try and forget that incident all he wants, but the fans won't.
No.
So,
No. And the problem is, once you put something out on the internet, it's always there.
As he well knows, yeah.
Yes.
So, there we go. So we'll have quite a rant with Haas there. We've given him far too much airtime, to be honest with you. So let's go on. Let's go on to the final team. Let's go on to Williams, Owain, and I still can't believe they're behind us in the Constructors' Championship. But all they need is a 13th place, and they'll be above them again, and that to them will be like a win. But still, it's very disappointing to see where they are. I imagine Paul Ricard is going to be probably quite windy. It's a very open place. It's a very open track, so it might not suit the car. But if it rains and George Russell gets a chance and there's not a Mercedes in the way of him, who knows? Could get points.
I mean, if there is a Mercedes in the way, at least there's a lot of runoff either side.
Yeah, true.
No, actually, I'm slightly optimistic about that. Actually, I think at least Paul Ricard actually has I think it's got more promise to it than some of the tracks we've been to recently. You never know. They bearing in mind he was fighting with Bottas on pace. I mean, admittedly in adverse conditions, but on pace in Imola, he might. There's quite the possibility that Russell might actually be able to get a point. I'm hopeful, but I do take your point. It could be an issue with them, sort of aerodynamic stability wise, and we've not seen amazing performances from them. But I sort of live in hope on that one. I think it could be a freak result, and they and like you say, if it rains, they get a win. It's like you say, scheduled rain. So I mean, we say that every week, and it never happens. But I hope, like I say, I live in hope.
Yeah, don't shoot the messages. I promise you, the weather forecast I have looked at does say it's going to rain. How accurate that is, I don't know. Let's be honest, it's probably not going to be, because how often does it rain in the south of France in summer? Like, as we found out so far from going there, not a lot. But yeah, those are the drivers, those are the teams. Let's go into our predictions. Let's go into our top 3 predictions for the weekend. Now, I was bang on until about 45 laps in, until Verstappen's failure in Baku for my top 3. So hopefully I'll be able to get somewhere close again. I think Verstappen's going to, like I said, I think he's going to channel a lot of the energy, a lot of the frustration into a good performance. I think that Red Bull is the fastest car. How it's going to be around Paul Ricard, I don't know. How much the flexi wing is going to affect them compared to Mercedes, I don't know. I don't think it's going to change a hell of a lot, to be honest, but we'll see. So I'll go with Verstappen for the win. I think Hamilton's going to be there with him in second. And I just can't see how Bottas is going to pick himself up after Azerbaijan. So I'm going to put Sergio Perez into there. So I'm going to go for Verham Per. Owain, what's your prediction?
I don't know. Ricciardo usually goes well at. So I think one of the McLarens could be quite strong. That's why I'm thinking they're probably in like second and third place. Although I think Hamilton will sort of get his mojo back. I think so. It'd be like probably Hamilton, and then I think I agree with you. I don't think Bottas has got really a chance of getting on the podium. So, I think it's probably Hamilton, Verstappen, and then let's go with Ricciardo.
Definitely be a turn up for the books if Ricciardo gets his first podium. He needs it. Steve, what's your top 3 prediction?
Very similar to yours, actually. It'll be Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez in that order, I think. Yeah, I agree with Owain. I think Hamilton's going to be rather miffed over the last couple of weekends, and he'll just have a bit of a point to prove. He's very capable of digging like giant killing performances out of absolutely nowhere when things are against him. So you guys know I'm not a fan, but I fully respect his abilities as a driver. I think he'll do something rather special, and by special I mean he will just walk away with it. Yeah, and then 2 Red Bulls right behind. But yeah, I think so far we're in agreement that Bottas, something's gone wrong there. Whether he's already been told he's not wanted for next year and they're just looking for a replacement before they announce all the shuffling, I don't know. But I get the impression that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors going around. I don't know if there's anything to them, but there's a lot of rumors going around about Mercedes announcing that Hamilton and Russell will be their 2 drivers for next year at Silverstone. But we'll see what happens with that. That's a very easy one to think up. Anybody could think up that if they just wanted to. So we'll see if there's any substance to that in about a month's time. Tom, what's your podium prediction?
I do think Hamilton will be standing on the top step. As much as I'd like to see Verstappen there, I think Hamilton and Mercedes, or certainly that one Mercedes, is going to go well this weekend. Bottas, he's I think his days are numbered. Verstappen, I think Verstappen will get P2, and then I think you could maybe see Perez P3, but I'd be more inclined. I think we're more likely to see another Mercedes back car P3. But I'm going to throw something a bit different out there. I'm going to say maybe Leclerc sneaking P3.
Well, he has had the two last pole positions, and he's not had a podium yet this year. Somehow he's missed out very close a few times. Miller and Baku, he was 4th both of those races. So yeah, you never know. You could do it. I think he got 3rd in 2019 as well, driving for Ferrari. So he is pretty good around Paul Ricard from what I remember. So yeah, we'll see how they get on. It's bold prediction time, and I'm going to go for something that I don't think anybody is going to see coming. I'm going to go for it's going to be an entertaining race at Paul Ricard. That's my bold prediction. Because 2018 and 2019, no.
You are going to be washing your mouth out with soap, my friend.
Coming from the world's biggest fan. World's biggest fan of Paul Ricard right there.
Love it so much.
Owain, what's your bold prediction?
Oh goodness, I don't know. I don't think I can go as bold as you.
I mean, you put Ricardo on the podium. That's quite bold.
Yeah, but I don't think I think that could conceivably happen. I don't know. Let's go. I was going to say maybe an Alpine on the podium.
Ooh. Alpine climbing to the summit on the podium.
Sure.
In their home race as well.
Wow.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
It might be illegally good. That's
Ooh. Bit of controversy.
Have they hired any Ferrari engineers in the last couple of years?
Yeah, that's right. Another Spygate. Yeah.
Oh God. Steve, what's your poll prediction?
Well, I was bang on last time, so I'm riding on a cloud of pomp and ceremony. With the I said double DNF for Mercedes, but it was the result was the same.
That was a hell of a call, to be fair. I was thinking that Steve got it right. Somehow Mercedes didn't score.
I was quite proud of that. And I'll tell you why. The reason behind me being the world's biggest Paul Ricard fan is there's an airport right next to it, so you can leave when you get fed up. But I would bold prediction. I think Seb top 5, not podium, but top 5. He could get podium, but top 5. He's going to be a happy lad after Baku, and I think that's the thing I think that'll be the catalyst that'll get him to click that he is a 4 times world champion, and he will suddenly now remember who he is and what he's capable of. He just needed, I think he just needed a good weekend. He's had a good weekend. He can get another good weekend.
Yeah, and I think weirdly qualifying outside the top 10 actually helped him. He was very mad at it, of course, but if he gets free choice of tyres, runs long, safety car, red flag or something like that, you never know. He could do it again. He was legit without all the retirements and stuff, the mistake for Hamilton, the blowout for Verstappen. He would have been legitimately 4th. Yeah, he would have been legitimately 4th place, I think, in that race anyway. So,
I think even that, had he ended up in 4th, that still would have been a monumental effort for that team, considering the year they've had so far.
Absolutely. Their pace has just come out of nowhere. It's been incredible to witness. Let's see if they keep it going. Tom, what's your bold prediction?
I'm going to say both Williams into Q2 and both Alfa Romeos out in Q1.
Okay. That could happen. That could happen. I think Latifi's been in Q2 once this year. I'm trying to think when it was. I'm sure he got into Q2. He might have done, yeah. It might be that. I think, yeah, they were quite quick in Portugal, actually, in qualifying. It must have been then. So it's possible, especially if both Alfa Romeos don't get into Q2 either. So.
That's partially what I'm thinking. So I was giving myself a safety net. But also, I do think a Mercedes back car is going to go well this weekend.
It's a very high-speed track, especially around the 2nd and 3rd sectors. So it's possible. That peaky downforce could come in clutch, finally. Could be converted into some sort of result. But yeah, so we do go live out on YouTube. I just want to give a quick mention to this. And we're almost at 100 subscribers on there as well. So if you're not listening to us live on YouTube when we put this show out, please do. Leave us a comment. We answer any questions after the show that you might have about F1 or anything really. So yeah, feel free to go for that. Now it's the plug-in time. So Owain, where can people see and hear more from you?
Oh God, do people want that?
I mean, people do look at your memes articles on sportlightpro.com if that's what you're referring to. So.
That's what genius. If you wait long enough, someone does the work for you.
Yeah, especially when it's my website. So
yeah, well, I forget I write them, honestly.
People love them. So yeah, if you want to check out some meme reactions, go to Sportlight Pro. The F1 meme lord himself, Owain Medford, does produce those after every race.
There's no videos, but
Don't need them. The still images are more than enough.
We promise 100% no Stroll. No Stroll memes.
Steve, apart from obviously being the biggest fan of Paul Ricard, what else do you do outside of Grid Talk?
I just wait at Paul Ricard for cars
Fair
to go
enough.
past.
Tom?
So you can find me and a bunch of other people on a Facebook page called Formula Shakedown. So we're basically an open wheel Facebook community. It's all well moderated. Just come have a yarn, hang around. Everyone's very like-minded and just likes things that go fast. You can also find me on Twitter. Twitter handle is at Vlad's Baschetti. I'll spell that out very quickly: VLADSBASGHETTI. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, stalking Simon Roberts' profile. Sorry, Simon.
Yeah, we had to give a mention to that after Williams' little restructuring job. I'm sure he wasn't sacked. I'm sure it's nothing to do with that. Anyway, Tom, where people see more of you?
So they can find me and the other great people I work with at everythingf1.com. On Twitter, we are Join EF1. Same on Instagram, it's at Join EF1. And then on Facebook, we are the Everything F1 page and the Everything F1 Paddock group.
Fair enough. And if you guys want to see some old episodes of our show, we have over 100 now, and they're all available on the F1 Chronicles website. Just go to f1chronicle.com for all of those. We're also available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Verbal, Omni Studio, and Pocket Cast, just to go to all of those. We've been getting some very, very good download numbers recently, so thank you all for listening. Genuinely, it's been mind-boggling to see how fast the show has grown this year. And any suggestions you guys can give us, just let us know. Honestly, we're open to suggestions when it comes to how the show is formatted. I want to give a mention as well to Christian Eriksen, the Danish footballer. I know it's not obviously Formula One related or motorsport related, but he collapsed on the pitch yesterday in a game against Finland. And right now I believe he's in hospital, but he's stabilized. He spoke to his teammates, and yeah, we wish him all the best with that. That's a scary incident, that, a young fit man, just collapsing. A professional athlete like that, we don't want to see that. That's the last thing we want to see. So we want to wish him all the best in his recovery, and we hope he's back doing what he loves very soon. And also mention as well to Felix Rosenqvist as well, the Swedish driver in IndyCar. He had a scary crash yesterday at Detroit, and I believe he's okay now, but I think he had his throttle stuck on and he slammed into the wall at very high speed. So again, that's not what we like to see either, but I believe he's okay now, which is the main thing. We will be back in a week's time on Saturday to analyse qualifying for the French Grand Prix. Thank you very much for joining us, lads. I really do appreciate it.
No worries.
No problem.
No, thank you very much.
And we'll see you there for that one. Bye-bye. Before it stops.
I can sit back.
You can relax now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can put Portimao back on.
Weck.
Yeah, 8 hours of Portimao. It's happening right now.
Oh wait, this is the first outing for the Glickenhaus, isn't it?
Yeah, they are not quick.
Dear.
This is an 8-hour test session by the looks of things.
I can't wait to see the salty post from Jim then. Oh dear. He's quite a character. He just goes after anyone. So I wonder if he goes after himself after this.
He only needs firing.
It is quite an astonishing looking car though. It's definitely not your typical sort of, shake and bake LMP1 lookalike.
Yeah, it's odd. It's I'll put it this way: the Toyota looks way more of a car.
Yes, this looks more like a doorstop, to be honest. But I like it as a doorstop.
I've got to look at this.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, it's I can't even remember the name of it because they don't name it.
Glickenhaus.
Glickenhaus SCG 001.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
SG. Yeah, something. I don't know.
Oh, guys, Porridge has posted.
Has he?
Yeah, expects to discuss his Mercedes future in the next month or so. I'm assuming discuss it with us because he's probably already discussed it with Toto, and Toto just said, "Yeah, we don't want you anymore."
Yeah, we have Russell now.
we have Russell now.
Well, I get the feeling that Toto and Valtteri have come to a decision, and Valtteri's going to find out about it very soon.
Yeah, it's literally that, isn't it?
Oh, do you think it's a bit of shotgun diplomacy? Like, yeah, this is the decision we are making.
Well,
I do not have a choice.
Well, I think after Monaco, I think the writing was on the wall for Valtteri, because after the no was machined onto his wheel, and then Toto said, "Oh well, he is partly to blame for not stopping exactly on the dot on the pit stop." I mean, how many drivers?
Oh yeah, no, bust that.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, when I saw that, I just thought, really, come on. And I think also when Russell had his outing in Sakir last year, when Hamilton had COVID, I think that was a bit of an eye opener for Mercedes, because obviously Russell went in, unfamiliar with. It seems like he was unfamiliar with the wheel, the steering wheel, didn't have the right size boots on, didn't have a right size seat. And if it wouldn't have
didn't fit in the car, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. And if it wouldn't have been for that, that's right. He had a puncture, and before the puncture, he'd had Bottas's wheels or something, wasn't it? I can't remember which order it was.
Pit stops, yeah, basically.
And he still came back to 9th when he was down to about 15th. He could have and should have won that race.
Yeah, he would have won it easily.
Just imagine.
Whereas Valtteri, on the other hand, couldn't make it out of 7th.
Yeah.
He's not been able to make it a 7th a number of times.
He does that a lot, Bottas, doesn't he? When the going gets tough, it just leaves. Like Monza last year, like I think he finished about 5th in the end or something like that. He didn't really have anything go wrong in his race. Hamilton was leading, went to the back, had like a 15-second gap to I think it was Albon. It was ahead of him, and he still recovered to like 7th place in 20 laps. Like, that's just the difference. That Bottas doesn't seem to be able to do it.
That was in a car as well that just doesn't do traffic. It's built to run out front, not play in traffic. So
yeah, and Hamilton can still overtake, and Russell can still overtake, but Bottas just can't do it. He couldn't do it in backfield.
Can Russell overtake if it's Bottas though?
What do you mean? Oh,
yes.
I mean, he tried.
Hey, I mean, he was genuinely faster than him. So
wait. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think where they ended up.
I think Russell
Bottas
might have
end
got
up
further.
in front?
No, I seem to remember George's oddly stained ass walking away from his wreck towards Valtteri's, which was further on. So technically, he didn't pass him. Technically,
yeah.
I was just trying to make a really pedantic point. If he did make it further down the track,
Oh, by the way, I did pass him. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, that Glickenhaus is in the garage currently. It's just gone back in the garage.
Have they just got the one there then, or?
Yeah, I think they've just got one. Yeah.
Right.
Not going well.
I did some sleuthing, and apparently the Bicolors hypercar project Owain might be dead on arrival.
Well, that sounds about right.
I was going to say that's quite normal for them. Like, it's usually in a tire wall or on fire somewhere.
I don't think I've seen them complete more than 20 laps at Le Mans ever.
It's so sad as well. And Colin Collars always comes out firing. Just we're going to do really well this year.
The Austrian as well.
No, is he Dutch or something, or Danish?
That was not a Dutch accent.
I'm not sure why.
Guys, we tried. Did the best we could.
But he sounds like a bit of a nuffy, to be honest, because he always comes out saying that we're going to take it to the rest of the LMP1 teams, and he does by showing them how slow they could potentially make their cars. It's a mighty feat.
He held up a Toyota for in 2017.
He did. Kamui Kobayashi, wasn't it? That's right.
Hit a bollard. Yeah. The bollard smashed into the light, and then they had to do a nose check. Oh, they've got the rear deck off.
It's all gone well, Ben. Actually, I have to see if I can find a post about this. Have Glickenhaus tweeted rage? Hang on.
They've taken the nose off, they've taken the rear off. It's probably really boring if you don't like endurance racing. Although
Patience for it.
I have noticed something. I have noticed.
There is a reason. It's not a mechanical. They got taken out by a.
There's a crash.
Oh, they got double dicked by a Proton Porsche in the D station Aston. So I don't think that's their fault. But hey, it's in the garage. It's all going well.
That explains why the Aston was had a chunk taken out of the front corner of it.
Oh, so they're just eating each other now. I see.
Yeah, well, it's got that sharp nose, so that's very sharky, isn't it?
Sorry, mate. Go on.
Oh, sorry, Tom. You go.
I was just gonna say, I just looked on Glickenhaus's Twitter, and it says back out. This is 5 minutes ago. Back out after crash, but clutch is slipping. May need to come back in. And there's a picture of the car going out. And somebody's tweeted in the back said, "Best of luck." Someone told Ryan it's an 8-hour race.
It's quite funny actually because I'm looking at around the circuit, and obviously it was last used for Formula One, so it's got the Heineken branding still thing, but everything is painted over in green or blue. But they've still got these big red stars. I
wonder what that is.
This is the most Philip Morris international branding of Heineken I've ever seen.
It's the 8 hours of the Soviet Union now, not a Portimao.
Didn't they make the lights into stars for Heineken for like Canada a few years ago? Or something?
No!
Yeah, I think they did.
I just remembered.
It's awful, isn't it?
Remember the star they had going off? It
was Austria, weren't it?
Yeah. And then they had the stars behind the grandstand.
I've forgotten about that.
It looks legit.
It's almost as awkward as when Martin Brundle tried to interview what's-her-face Serena Williams and just got told to fuck off, basically.
Oh, God,
I've seen that happen to Martin Brundle a number of times on a number of grid walks.
Yeah. There's been Martin. I remember there was one. Was it Owen Wilson? It said something. Martin Brundle was like, "Okay, moving on."
Yeah, it was Owen Wilson and Tom Brady.
That's it.
I remember that. And whenever he goes to try and interview Bernie, and Bernie just says, "I can't hear you," and just shuffles away richly.
Yeah. It's just because he's weighted down by that bribery money.
Yeah.
Can't believe Bernie got away from
pockets aligned with washed funds just in case.
Yeah. I tell you what I remember once. So there's have you seen that clip of when a cameraman walks into Montoya? And Montoya says,
"Oh my God, yeah,
you know the one I mean." And he says, "You almost broke my effing head." And then in the back, you just see Bernie running into the Ferrari motorhome with 2 briefcases. And someone commented on a video I saw and said, "You see Bernie shuffling off with all that bribery money in the background." It's just like,
oh, good.
Oh,
he looked proper dodgy as well.
Oh, Bernie.
We're never getting invited for media coverage, are we?
We are not.
No. Formula One does not like us. I'll tell you that much. They're not a fan of us, but it's all right. We got a lot of fans now. We got a lot of downloads, so
it's fine.
That's the main
it's fine.
thing.
Eventually, they'll have to acknowledge our existence and let us in, so I can just go and
eventually
Will Buxton in the forehead or something.
No, eventually they'll have to acknowledge our existence and then send us a cease and desist for using F1 copyrighted material because we use an image of a car for 0.1 of a second.
They're literally that bad sometimes.
That's what it's like with them.
Yeah, it's mad.
Does that mean we should replace that with a 24 hours of Lemons car and just try and pass it off as a Formula One car?
Yeah, 24 hours of Lemons. It's bad examples of good cars and good examples of bad cars.
I did the Lemons in Australia a few years ago in a Toyota Previa, which was just wonderful. Had a blown exhaust and it was leaking into the cabin, so I got quite unwell.
So that's carbon monoxide poisoning. That is.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Just cut to Steve on the radio. Just.
I don't know if it's the loss of blood or the smell of the burning plastic from the monitor, but I feel great. Just with this whole bot or just with the driver market thing. Question for you guys.
Go on.
if
You know what
I think Bottas is obviously gone or is going.
Mm.
If they don't take Russell, though, if Williams manage to either negotiate to keep Russell, or if Mercedes decide that he's not quite cooked yet, who would they pick?
I've got
Hmm.
two names. I've got two names to come straight to mind for this.
Go on.
Number one, especially as Toto is his manager, Ocon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously former Mercedes Junior. The second one, and the one which I think would probably be a better fit, he's already had time in a top team, which didn't quite work out. Pierre Gasly.
Ooh.
Oh,
That'd be a good steal. To be
I'd
fair.
love
Yeah.
to see that.
And then and imagine Netflix if if Christian Horner and Toto Wolff started bitching like they did with Horner and Beatable about Daniel Ricciardo. Oh, that would just be great.
I love their back and forth, just the banter between Arnold and Mr. Spice just makes me so happy.
Mr. Spice.
Mr. Spice, oh, it's a great
Mr.
name.
Spice. Oh dear. But no,
Ocon and-
Gasly would be I think Gasly would probably be the better fit
I think it'd be the better
as
fit.
well.
Yeah.
I mean, Ocon's been sort of almost conspicuous by his absence.
Yep.
It's not his fault. Like he's a competent driver, but he's also made some pretty catastrophic blunders in the past as well, like pushing Prix into the wall in Baku a couple of years ago. For some reason, trying to race Max a lap down.
Oh, when he's trying to
Brazil
unlap
as well.
himself.
Yeah,
Yes.
It just, I don't know. Pierre's made some mistakes as well, but Pierre's also put in some giant killing performances, like beating Hamilton to the line at Brazil.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at where Gasly's picked himself up from, because he was at such a low point after what was his last race? Wasn't it Hungary 2019, just before the summer break?
Yeah, it's got lapped by
Yeah.
Verstappen
Yeah,
again.
yeah, and then to go from being effectively rock bottom in his career, and then obviously losing his best friend Hubert
Yeah.
as well a few weeks later, to pick himself back up to get that podium last year, pretty much on merit as well.
Oh yeah.
And then to again to then get the win in Monza last year, and then to obviously get another podium again this year, because isn't it he's finished on every step of the podium now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
Third, second, and
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
yeah, I do just wonder if that top team pressure would get to him again, like it obviously did at Red Bull. But that Red Bull is a very different environment again as well. We've seen how they favour particular drivers or a
Drivers.
particular driver. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's not
Also-
Max's fault either, but I think that's Red Bull. Red Bull are doing the same as what Honda did with Marc Marquez and MotoGP. They've invested so much time, effort, and development into one person that it all goes a bit wrong for the other guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys watch MotoGP at all, but Marc Marquez injured himself quite badly early last season.
Yeah.
And was out for most of the season. He's now back on the bike that he hasn't been developing for the best part of a year, and Honda are now nowhere. And I do wonder if Verstappen was lured away from Red Bull by another team, maybe Mercedes. What would happen to Red Bull?
It would be a bit lost, wouldn't they?
yeah.
Yeah. The development direction would be interesting because they don't have that solid multiple years of experience that they have with Max to do it. And I doubt he'd leave now. He's obviously getting what he wants out of that car finally. But yeah, it's an interesting scenario.
It's hard for me to feel bad for Red Bull because ultimately that is a problem of their own making. It's not like they've been forced into that. It's like, if you're going to go and do
exactly.
something, well, that's on you.
Yeah, it's just, and it's I mean, it's not like Helmut Marko's got a bag of, or like a shed full of like Red Bull junior drivers he can just defrost from cryostasis to throw in that car whenever he needs to anymore. Like
Sebastian Buemi.
Well, we don't know that.
Get him back.
Well,
oh god,
No, he's too busy actually winning in point Toyota.
True.
Yeah. I mean, the only drivers like Red Bull junior drivers that they've really got at the moment. We've always got Yuki Tsunoda,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even put Gasly on that list because he won't go back to Red Bull. I just don't think it's going to happen.
They've said it literally, haven't they? They don't want him back.
No.
Basically.
And if I was Gasly, I wouldn't want to go back there.
Yeah.
But also, I'm definitely not an F1 driver. I'm far too big. I mean, Tsunoda, yeah. And then if you look at F2, you've got the likes of Liam Lawson, who's obviously doing really well. And then you've also got Johan Daruvula as well, who's doing decent, but is not at... Daruvula is not like 18, 19, like sort of F2 age. He's a little bit older. I think he's about the same age as Gasly, maybe even a bit older. And it's just like, I couldn't see someone like Daruvula coming in his mid-20s into what are they called these days, AlphaTauri, and then it's Red Bull. I just don't see what happening. So, and I think with the Perez thing, this is a prime example of they've had to sort of like look outside their network of drivers.
Yeah, and it's not worked out too badly for them so far. It's taken Prix a few races to get sorted, and he's now...
that would be expected out of a young driver, though.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think them bringing in Perez was a really, really good move, because how many times did we say when Albon and Gasly were with Red Bull that when Max doesn't have these results, Red Bull need a driver, a number 2 driver that is going to pick up on these lost opportunities. And how many times was Albon sort of scrapping away with someone in 9th and then putting a back wheel on the curb and spinning out and ended up 13th? And then
too often.
Exactly. And then Perez comes through today, sweeps through the field. I thought he was going to lose P1 at the start of Baku, and I think if Hamilton wouldn't have accidentally pressed the brake bias, Hamilton was past him, let's be fair, and I think Hamilton would have sailed off into the distance a bit, but Perez would have still picked up P2. Good chunk of points for the constructors. The drivers championships, obviously a different story. But Gasly or Albon wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have even been in the position, because Perez was obviously P2 with the restart anyway. They wouldn't have been in the position. Neither Gasly nor Albon would have been in the position to even be fighting for the win or a podium to get a good amount of points. And especially with Bottas being so far off the pace this year, that combined with Red Bull having such a strong driver lineup and having such a solid number 2, that sounds wrong. As I said it, I was just like, no.
Nobody picked up on that, did they?
No.
Super serious discussion.
I wouldn't notice until you pointed it out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you left that, we would be none the wiser, but you had to point out the turd joke.
Professionalism on the Grid Talk podcast, as always.
This is the post show. We can do
live on YouTube as well. That's never going away.
Well, there we are. But seriously, because Red Bull have got such a solid second driver now, and because Mercedes don't have such a good second driver, sorry Bottas, well, not sorry, I think it's worked out really well for Red Bull, and it's made Mercedes go, hang on, we need to do something here.
Yeah, they're in a bit of trouble now too, because I mean, there's 2 championships to play for, and they could still win one with Hamilton, and I still don't know if that's going to happen or not. I kind of get the impression it will, but it'll just be a more drawn-out affair between him and Max. But the Constructors' Championship, now that Perez has apparently got his eye in, that could disappear.
This weekend's going to be a big teller for that, because it should be a relatively straightforward one. So Bottas and Perez should be able to just show what they've got in that car. And if Bottas is down there, if Perez is down there again, it's not good reading for either of them. But I think it's more like the Bottas won't be up there.
Yeah, something's been added to the porridge that doesn't quite make a delicious meal anymore. It's a bit strange.
Yeah.
As is that metaphor. But
I was going to say, Blair, man,
I think he's been told he's gone. Because
that's exactly what I think too.
Yeah, I think
only explanation. It's the only explanation for what happened in Spain, let alone everywhere else.
Yeah, Spain was a big top. That was the biggest one for me, because it's like, I'm not gonna move out of the way for you. Screw you.
Yeah.
It's like, What you're on thin ice? Is it? You're on the tightest of tight ropes, but.
I think Bottas has already mentally checked out. I think he knows he's gone.
Yeah.
I think he's currently looking for other things. You know, I don't even know if he'll be on the grid next year, because if I was him, would I want to drop back down to Williams?
So, Aeon, the real question is which World Endurance Championship team is he going to end up
That's
in for next
that's
year?
honestly the question.
Glickenhaus.
I was just going to say Glickenhaus, yeah.
The thing is, there's so many available now. It's just like, well,
Well, I mean, there's more coming as well. Like we were having this chat the other day, Owain, but we've now got, these are confirmed, although Bicolas is a bit of a question mark. We've now got Toyota, Glickenhaus, Peugeot, BMW, Ferrari, Audi, Porsche, Bicolas, maybe Cadillac, Mercedes, apparently. And I have heard from a source I have inside of Multimatic that they are looking at potentially something with another Japanese manufacturer.
ooh, who do you reckon?
Not Mazda, because they pulled the pin on DPI very recently, and they've said very clearly that they're not interested in going back. I think it's Honda.
It's got to be Honda. That's the only reason they're
It
going
will be
back out.
Honda, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be Honda.
They're out of F1, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it'll be Honda America, not Honda Japan, but still a Japanese manufacturer. But it sounds like they'll be teaming up with Multimatic for somebody for like a Japanese manufacturer. Maybe it's Suzuki. Maybe we'll get a Suzuki Jimny.
Suzuki or
hypercar.
Mitsubishi would be hilarious.
I mean, Mitsubishi, when they actually made good cars, yes. Now,
Not so much.
Not so much.
not so much. No.
I don't know. I like the Suzuki. Yeah, I mean Suzuki. It could be Suzuki. It
Suzuki
probably won't be.
Jimny.
Oh, a
hypercar.
Jimny
Yes.
LMDH. It'd be great.
Yes. Yeah.
I always wanted to slam one.
I mean, look, if GPR Racing can turn a Prius into a giant killing GT300 monster, you can turn a Jimny into a hypercar. That'd be excellent. Imagine that just monstering the Glickenhaus.
I think the Jimny actually suits current sort of aero philosophy in WEC.
What, just make brick go fast? Yes.
Well, yeah, no, 'cause it's like, well, we could make the air go over the car, but instead we'll just make it go sideways now.
Yeah.
You've seen the Alpines and the Rebellions.
They wouldn't need vortex generators because the amount of dirty air coming off that thing would just be incredible.
Right, and on that note, I really need to get going, lads. But
No
It's
worries.
half an hour
No
until
worries.
kickoff.
exactly. I need to get prepped.
What
You need to. Do you need to get down to the local pub so you can join in the festivities? Or?
No chance of getting in there. No chance. It's going to be rammed. No, I'm done
There's
at home. I need to set a few things up. I need to sort Rex out as well. He probably wants his lunch soon. So yeah, I'll see you lads later. Great conversation with you.
All right.
And
No
Tom,
worries,
thanks
guys.
for coming on again. Great meeting you.
Thank you for having me.
No, more than welcome. More than welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Right, I'm going to go watch the Black Caps absolutely trounce England.
I don't know
Sorry,
what you're on about. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, it is.
it's already happening.
Still annoyed about that World Cup.
Yeah. Rub it in. All right, good night, guys.
See you later.
See you,
Take care, everyone.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
I realised I wasn't specific there. That could be either World Cup.
Oh.
We beat you both
Not
times.
okay.
We got you both.
It was a glitch. Good night.
It was a glitch.
Yeah.
The one time the All Blacks stopped playing.
Oh, if they could keep going, that would be great.